The following is a paid presentation by Siniard Law Injury Attorneys, paid for by Siniard Law Injury Attorneys. The Siniard Law Show, answering your legal questions, featuring attorneys Tommy Siniard, Bart Siniard, and your host, Aaron Dacey. This is the Siniard Law Show.
Hello and welcome to the Siniard Law Show. We're so glad you're joining us because you have free access to some of the best lawyers in America, literally. Bart Siniard has been recognized by the best lawyers in America 3 years running. And we're joined this evening by Rebecca Hall Coleman, who is an expert in family law. Rebecca, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about family law. What all does this encompass?
So family law covers anything that would touch on a family, right? Divorces, adoption, child custody, child support, sometimes domestic violence, anything that falls under that umbrella. And
you, I'm sure, run in the same circles and see everything that Rebecca does too. And do you guys ever work together on cases?
Yeah, we've had situations where, we have joint clients, but, Rebecca has a great reputation. She's an up and coming divorce and family law attorney. Does a really good job for her clients. I have a lot of respect for her, and I'm glad to have her on here, answering people's questions about this subject matter.
Yeah, and we'll get to those in just a moment. But now let's get to our legal tip of the week. This one is related to family law and documenting evidence in family law disputes. So why is this important, and what do you mean by documenting evidence?
Yeah, having evidence in any type of legal proceeding is important. Saying something is a lot different than saying something and backing it up with proof. But it's especially important in any kind of family law case, a divorce case, a child custody battle. Tell us your tips on that, Rebecca.
Yeah, so if someone comes into me and they say, hey, I've been sued for child support, but I've been paying for years, I'm gonna say, well, bring me the documents, bring me the Venmo or the PayPal or the checks, however you've sent money. Same thing, if someone comes in and says, my grandmother gave me $100,000 to purchase this house, bring me the proof. Or my family gave us a loan so that we could pay off my husband's student loans. Well, do you have a promissory note? Bring me documents. The other common thing in my line of work is people fighting over custody. And they say, well, I should get sole fiscal custody of my child because I've been the primary parent. I always have my child. Well, bring me a custody calendar. Bring me text messages to back that up, because ultimately that's what the court's going to look for, is what does the evidence show? Words, you have to have proof.
Yeah. Otherwise, it just turns into a he said, she said situation.
Well, it's who's going to win the case. And if the person just shows up with their memory of what was said or what happened versus the opposing party who has a different version and has proof of it, photos, phone records, checks, that person's going to win. The judge, and usually a jury if it's a jury trial, which they don't have in family law type cases, but they're going to go with the party that has proof. So if you're entering some type of legal proceeding or thinking about, a divorce or trying to fight over custody, start thinking about what proof may be needed and documenting it, because that's going to give you a lot better chance to have a good outcome.
Rebecca, do text messages, you mentioned text messages as part of it, right?
So, yes.
So that counts.
Absolutely. Text messages and recordings are probably the main pieces of evidence that we use.
Audio recordings?
Yes, audio recordings.
Now, what about the legality of that? You can just record somebody in a conversation or an argument?
Alabama is considered a one-party state. Different states have different laws on this, but if the caller and the recipient of the call are in the state of Alabama, then the person making the call doesn't have to tell the other person they're recording it. And so you probably see that a lot.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
So again, like Bart said, we are a one-party consent state. So I see people do illegal things all of the time. You cannot hide a recording device in a room or in a car and walk away and just capture audio. That is against the law. Please don't do that. But if you are talking you can record somebody because you, the person making the recording, have consented to the recording. So that's one-party consent.
And that's admissible in court.
It is. It's illegal in some states. So, but
what about like surrounding states like Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, I've never done a study on state by state, but it's about half.
So you really need to check that.
If you're calling somebody, in Texas or California, and recording them, you probably need to stop that recorder until you look at that state's laws about recording consent.
What about if you record it first and then don't use it because it becomes illegal?
You may still have broken the law. And so in my world, right, as you go through a divorce or child custody action, there can be discovery conducted. And one of the questions we ask is, have you recorded? So whether you intend to use it or not, it could come out.
That's really interesting. Very, very good tips. We appreciate it, Rebecca and Bart. The Siniard Law Show not only offers experts like Rebecca in specialty areas of the law, like family law, we're also answering viewer questions about legal topics. And this is so great. It's a great opportunity for people who have a question to ask.
Yeah.
The experts.
This is why we're here. We're trying to, give back and share what we know, because a lot of the law's not common sense. It's confusing. And we love getting
intimidating too.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And, I know we've got some emails tonight. We got a few callers and look forward to getting to them.
So we invite you to submit your legal questions. Call us at 844-7000-LAW and leave us a voicemail, or you can email us at questions@siniardlaw.com. Let's get to our first legal question this evening. This one, Rebecca, is regarding divorce. The email says, my husband and I just decided to get divorced and don't want to have to hire lawyers. How is the best way to go about this? We have one child and we both agreed to joint custody. We also have a house that we're planning on selling and splitting the money 50-50. So they don't want lawyers.
Can they do this without lawyers? And is that a good idea?
Can they do it? Yes, you can do it. But that's probably one of the main reasons domestic relations attorneys have a job, is because people try to do it by themselves and they make so many mistakes because they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand, what child custody means, what all that encompasses. They don't understand child support or how that's calculated. They don't understand when you sell a house, what kind of deed, or if you're conveying an interest, what kind of deed you need. So if you don't want to hire a lawyer, at least go see a lawyer for a 1-hour consult. Go talk to a lawyer, understand your rights, understand what you can get, what you can't get. If you want to try and draft it yourself, that's probably a mistake, but you can try, and then let a lawyer look at it, because especially if it's a divorce, right? We like to say that's the foundation of your home. If you pour a bad foundation, you will spend so much more money trying to fix it later on than if you would have just done it right to begin with. What's
the most common mistake you see? And I'm sure there's a lot of different variety of mistakes, people trying to do their own divorces without lawyers. But what's one of the most common ones you see when somebody walks in your door and say, hey, we try to do this on our own and it hasn't worked?
Yeah, I would say one with custody, for example. People who come in and they tell me, I have joint custody of my child. Well, I look at the paperwork, they have joint legal custody, but their spouse may have sole physical custody. So that changes the burden for a future modification of custody. And this whole time, this individual has thought, well, I am equal. That's not true if one parent has sole physical custody. So that is a major common mistake. Or people come in and they are paying too much child support, or they've accepted significantly less than what they should get. I would say those are also common.
That's hard to change once it's in writing.
Right, yeah. And they spend so much time, money, effort, energy trying to fix it, and sometimes the law is against you when you try to go back and fix it, depending on what you've agreed to and what areas we're trying to undo.
I like your idea of just get the consult and then take it from there. Thank you both. When we return, I'll sit down with staff members of the Boys and Girls Club of North Alabama. They'll tell us about their latest accomplishments and how you can get involved.
North Alabama's largest and most iconic 5K is back. The 2025 Liz Hurley Ribbon Run and Survivors Walk, Saturday, October 18th in downtown Huntsville. Don't you want to be part of this? Go to WAFF.com to register.
I got sandwiched between an 18-wheeler and a truck. During the accident, I lost my left leg. I chose Siniard Law because my granddad knew they had a great reputation. They were very knowledgeable. They were very sweet. We had a connection. They pretty much treated us like family. I would definitely recommend Siniard Law because they are caring and they will help you get what you deserve. If you've been injured, call Siniard Law.
One of the great parts about the Siniard Law Show is we have an opportunity to put a spotlight on programs and people who are doing wonderful things in our community. Joining us today are two directors from the Boys and Girls Club, Angie Brockman, who is the literacy director, and Angela O'Neill, who is the STEM director. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. We'll start with you, Angela. Tell us just how many Boys and Girls Clubs there are in town and what you do, what you provide for the community.
Sure. So we're Boys and Girls Club of North Alabama. It's actually 12 locations across the North Alabama area. We have 5 locations in the greater Huntsville area, 3 locations in Decatur. We have 1 all the way over in Scottsboro, and you go all the way over the other side. We have 1 location in Athens. And if you go to the state line, we have 1 up in Ardmore. So we serve over 1,000 children a day in our after school and out of school time format. So that's going to be whenever schools are not in, we are. And we're actually open from 2:30 in the afternoon all the way to 7 o'clock in the evening, and that's for working parents, for anybody who needs any extra special enrichment, childcare. We provide food, we provide homework assistance, we provide basketball and sports, and in my specific things, I do science and technology with kids. So we have dedicated STEM spaces across all of our locations where we can do computer science, robotics, 3D printing, regular lab chemistry stuff, and we do a lot of that stuff. So they have access to these things every single day with us.
And Angie, your specialty is literacy, which is so critical. So how do you help the kids in Boys and Girls Club do better when it comes to literacy?
Well, Erin, we have an approach where we have like 3 parts to our literacy program, and one is enrichment. So all of our kids receive literacy enrichment, which they're activities, books that are given to the education program, and they get this every month. And then the second part is we have what we call our intervention program for all of the children that can't seem to keep pace with what they're learning in school, so they've fallen behind in reading. And we have volunteers, we have college interns who work in this program, and they're trained to work with the kids. And some of the kids just need practice reading because we know, like with sports or anything else, it's practice that makes, you know, a person get better with something, including reading. And then our third program, or part of our literacy program, is our family engagement program. So we feel if we can let parents just see that they can play easy literacy games at home with their children, just things as simple as a hula hoop with paper plates with sight words on them where they toss it in like a frisbee. Just
makes
simple.
it fun.
It makes it fun for the kids, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do that kind of thing. So those are the 3 prongs for our literacy program.
And then your STEM program is pretty developed. Tell me about how that started and how it's filtered out to all of the clubs.
Yeah, so we were really fortunate in 2016 to get actually a grant from Raytheon at the time, it's RTX now, to put a STEM Center of Innovation in our Williams Club that's inside of Williams Elementary School. What that did was got me on staff, and I was 15 hours a week. I was part-time. And what we found from having kids with a dedicated space with dedicated STEM instructor is that their interest in STEM careers went up 2 and 3 times. So we went from 40% interest in STEM all the way up to 86% interest in STEM in just that one first year. So
because they didn't know about it.
Right. So, and it's access, right? So that was a type of thing with daily access. You got to really kind of know equipment and things like that. So then we kind of said, okay, we need to put these spaces in all of our clubs. So we had like a 3-year process. Really, I think we did it in 2, where we actually got funding and got these dedicated spaces. And then finally we're like, okay, we have spaces, we have stuff, we have no one who knows what a heck a 3D printer even is or how to run it, and if it breaks, what are we going to do? Angela's only one person, which is true. I was getting to be full-time at that point, and then so we started in 2021 our STEM intern program. So we started with 2 interns, both of them from UAH, and they were a biology major and electrical engineering major. And so what they are specialists. So they just like Angie's program has specialists that just work in literacy, my program has specialists of interns that work just in STEM. So they're engineering majors, computer science majors. I also have a partnership with STEM Teach at Alabama A&M. So those are secondary ed math majors for the most part, and they run the program completely. So it's just me and a bunch of college kids, which is really great. They're walking, talking role models for our kids. Sure. They not only have the technical ability to be able to troubleshoot things, they are wanting to go into these career fields. So they can say, yes, look at me, I look like you. And I'm interested in coding, and I like math, and I like robots. You should too. And then all of a sudden, they're like little rock stars walking around our clubs because
very influential.
They're 22 and cool and interesting, and they happen to like computers. Holy cow! That's like I can't do that work. That is work that I cannot I'm not nearly as cool as my interns are. And so we've been able to give them projects that are interesting to the intern, therefore they're excited about what they're teaching, so therefore we get kids that are excited about it, and our data is really coming back. We do a lot of data analysis. We analyze, like we talk to kids with case management, with literacy. We do a lot of we actually survey every single kid in our clubs, age 9 and above, every year for how they're doing on a variety of different objects. And we've really found that level of engagement really does make a difference in careers. We have 50% of our graduating seniors are going into STEM careers. So we know that this actually works. It's definitely playing the long game. I mean, it takes a while to get kids to really think about these careers if they've never heard of this stuff before.
But you're getting them started so early. That's really great.
Yeah, and I can be selfish about this. My child started out in the program in 2nd grade when I first started. She's going to major in mechanical engineering this fall. So it does work, and I have again, personal stakes in this. But I love to see just a kid that was 7 who was just super interested in coding is now a computer science major. And that's really cool to be able to just help a kid through those processes in it. And it's not like every single child needs to be those things, but it's very gratifying for us because we get to see kids, for all of us, it's kind of the coolest thing about working for the club. We get to watch kids grow up, and we get to step along with them in their life journey. And it's really very, very fun.
And Angie, you're hoping to expand your program so that you have something similar to what's happening with STEM, but with literacy.
Yes, so we're starting to interview right now to get some college interns, to get maybe some retired teachers that want to come and help with this project. So, yeah.
That would be fantastic. So anybody who's interested in Boys and Girls Club having their child participate, what should they do?
So we have certain schools that we will bus from. So if they're interested in being in the Boys and Girls Club, they just need to check and make sure that their school is part of our program. That doesn't mean that they can't come. We can, we work that out with pretty much everybody. We never turn anybody away for any reason at all. And if you're an adult and you want to get involved, there's volunteering. All that information is straight on our website, and you can volunteer in lots of different ways. We have plenty of engineers and those technical people that live in town. Sometimes they really want to help with robots, and sometimes they want to play basketball, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
because you
want to do those
role
things
models,
too.
right, of all ages and of all types.
And then I would be remiss to say that if you are a company and you are interested in financial support, that's the thing with my program is tech isn't cheap. We have to keep putting new stuff into things. So there's always opportunities. Like Angie, books are not free, and if we're giving out books to kids, there's reoccur, so those types of things. So if companies want to be involved, there's lots of different opportunities for a company to be involved as well.
You guys are doing God's work. It's wonderful, wonderful that you are in our community. We appreciate you both so much, and thank you for sharing with us about Boys and Girls Clubs.
Thank you for having us.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Siniard Law Show. We'll hear from you and your questions.
Our firm, Siniard Law, we represent people who have been injured due to the negligence of somebody else.
I think we separate ourselves by not only our experience, but our community involvement and our dedication to every client.
The people of North Alabama are very important to all of us because this is home.
We are a Huntsville law firm that cares about Huntsville and North Alabama. If you've been injured, call Siniard Law.
Welcome back to the Siniard Law Show. Let's get to our email inbox. This question, Bart and Rebecca, I have 2 granddaughters and my son and daughter-in-law won't let me see them. I've done nothing wrong. I just have differences of opinions with my daughter-in-law, but that shouldn't stop me from being able to see my grandkids. What rights does a grandparent have to see their grandchildren under Alabama law?
Rebecca?
So grandparents' rights, there is a platform for that, right? There is a legal remedy. You can initiate a lawsuit to establish grandparent rights. That, we had grandparents' rights, then we didn't. We had it again, then we didn't. The law is in effect right now. But I'm going to be very honest, it's a very difficult case to win, especially if mom and dad are fit parents, right? Because as parents, you have the ability to make decisions for your child or your children, including who they associate with. So a grandparent saying, they won't let me see them and I've done nothing wrong, unfortunately, if mom and dad are fit, they can make that choice. But a grandparent still has a cause of action and can file a lawsuit. I've filed several, I've blocked several. It's judge specific, it's fact specific. How involved were you in the lives of your grandchildren? How old are your grandchildren? How is having contact, having a relationship with you in the best interest of the children? There's a lot of factors. That's just a very simple nutshell right there.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Now to another voicemail from a Siniard Law Show viewer.
Hey there. So my wife and I divorced several years ago. I agreed to child support payments since my wife wasn't working at the time and she got primary custody. In the last year, though, I was laid off. I got a new job now, but I don't make as much money as I did when we got divorced. Is there any way I can get my child support payments changed and lessened?
Trying to change child support. How do you go about that? How easy is that to do?
I would say that's one of the easier things to do, depending on how long it's been since you last established child support. So child support in the great state of Alabama is governed by Rule 32 of the Alabama Rules of Judicial Administration. So as long as the household, i.e. just mom and dad, because step-parents' income does not count, as long as mom and dad's income is less than $30,000 gross per month, we plug the numbers in and the numbers don't lie. You also get to put in things such as a pro rata portion of health insurance costs and work-related child care expenses. But the number that is generated from this Rule 32 calculation, there's a presumption that that's what you should pay. So if this individual thinks that they are overpaying, again, go talk to a lawyer. They'll tell you within 15 minutes of meeting them. You need to know what you're making, what mom's making, what health insurance costs. If there's work-related child care, they can tell you what you should pay.
What do lawyers typically charge just for like a consult? I know every lawyer may have a different rate, but what are the setups there in regards to cost of just meeting with a lawyer?
Well, before we even talk about meeting with a lawyer, if it's been more than 3 years since you last established a child support obligation, you can go to the Department of Human Resources in your specific county. You won't meet with a lawyer right then. You'll meet with a case officer who will get a lot of the information that I just went over, and they will pass that on to the attorney. And depending on if you have a case or not, DHR will file the case for you. But meeting with a lawyer is obviously a quicker route, right? Because when you do it through the department, they're overwhelmed. They've got a lot. They're trying to help people, trying to help in a number of ways. So meeting with the lawyer, some lawyers offer a free hourly consult. Otherwise, you are looking at anywhere from probably $250 an hour to $600 an hour. There's a big range. My biggest piece of advice would be to meet with an attorney who actually specializes in family law.
And have your documentation, like you said, ahead of time. That saves some time. Let's get to another email question. It is, I got custody of my daughter in a divorce many years ago. I still live in Huntsville, but I want to move to Texas to be closer to family. I told my ex about it, and he's furious and says it's illegal for me to do that. Can I move to Texas, or do I need to get a judge's permission? By the way, he is always late on paying child support and never spends much time with our daughter.
Do you run into this issue a lot? One of the parents wanting to leave the state?
Oh yes, especially in Madison County, with individuals coming to Madison County or wanting to go home. If you were divorced in the state of Alabama, then that is what we call an initial child custody determination. So in the future, if you want to relocate, the law is called the Alabama Parent-Child Relationship Protection Act. And it says you have to give notice to the other parent. It is very specific on how you have to do it, how you have to serve it via certified mail. And once you send that out, if the other parent objects, then you'll end up in court. And a judge will have to decide, should you be allowed to relocate or not? Why are you relocating? Do you have a job there? Do you have family there? Has his failure to pay child support prevented you from being able to properly care for the child? Do you have, resources where you want to go to help you? That's one of the things we look at. But yes, she needs to give notice and do so in accordance with the law. Otherwise,
you don't just call them up and tell them.
No. And you have to give notice within a certain time frame in advance of the relocation. Now, once they do that, though, once the notice is sent, if the other parent wants to object, they have to file an objection in the circuit court of where the individual was divorced. They don't get to just say, hey, I got your letter, I object.
What is the standard of, let's say they can't agree, and what is the standard that a judge has to apply in ruling on whether, it's okay that she moves to Texas?
Yeah, so this is hard, and I always hate having to tell people this, but there is a rebuttable presumption that the individual the child should not move. So the parent that's wanting to relocate starts, not at equal. You've got an uphill battle.
So it has to be presumed by the judge that the child should stay here in Alabama.
Yes.
And that has to be proven otherwise by the parent who wants to leave the state.
Correct. Okay. And I should say that Relocation Act applies whether you move more than 60 miles or across state lines. So if we had somebody that wanted to move to Mobile, we would be doing the same thing.
Very interesting. Thank you very much, Rebecca, and thank you, Bart. We appreciate it so much, learning so much all the time. Thank you for joining us for this week's Siniard Law Show. We appreciate your voicemail and email questions on family law, and we do thank you, Rebecca Hall Coleman, for sharing your expertise. Next week on the Siniard Law Show, Tommy Siniard and Bart Siniard will talk about medical malpractice. So if you've been injured or suffered a serious health complication due to bad medical care, contact the Siniard Law Show at 844-7000-LAW by phone or email us at questions@siniardlaw.com. We'll see you next week after the late news.
The preceding was a paid presentation by Siniard Law Injury Attorneys, paid for by Siniard Law Injury Attorneys.